as has been elaborated in prior years on my Twitter account and etc. It's so true. Not to speak so elegantly about twits and tweets and etc. It's so true that I totally always say this line. It's such a good line. I think it's by Jay-Z, man. So sometimes I emphasize this rap stuff more than another individual or etc. But sometimes there's much to be admired from some contexts and some concerns and constraints and etc. At the same token, it's this whole ordeal of, he says in a line, he elaborates, making stocks move like white top. So that's so true. And at the same token, it's beyond the scope of this and that. Obviously, the more you learn, the more you earn. The more you can invest in yourself, your companies, etc., and it makes you, what is, an owner is a boss, and literally, it's so true that you want to get to the level that you're acquiring assets and etc. Whether it be real estate, what's made the most millionaires, real estate, obviously, one of the biggest differentials between middle class and the most. What might be referenced as elitist class or even most affluent class, whatever wording is more palatable for you and etc. It's so true that stocks literally have, if I didn't emphasize it, stocks have been the differential between, like I said, middle classes and also the most affluent classes and etc. And at the same token, it's the utilization of all this information, because information is such powerful. Obviously, like a professor I followed and studied and etc. It's so true that his mind state was that he literally spent 10 years in school. That's an incredible amount of time. Obviously, that's a dedication, and is seriously studying 6 hours a day and etc. To the extent that, he suggested to himself, if I learn enough about money, people will pay me to talk about money and etc. Right? At the same token, you also have the whole contrary, that if you acquire enough money, people will talk to you about or people want to hear you talk about money or etc. Right? Not that this is that or that is this, but at the same token, it's so true that that's not always the truest grain of salt, because literally individuals win the lottery. Obviously, is that the person you ought to seek counsel from and etc. Probably not the most fiscally wise decision, although it could be, depending on the person, right? We can't judge every situation as absolute. At the same token, again, this is to emphasize, it's up to you what you do to create the trajectory for the rest of your fucking life. Obviously, some people are more innate than others. Obviously, this and that, but obviously, it's a coupled effect. Literally, mind, body, spirit, or etc., or whatever. Right? Literally, as has been elaborated to me. Some of the trajectories towards happiness or a good life, or what has been quoted as good life and etc., is just that, a coupled effect of just that: health, wealth, love, and happiness. So for what it's worth, it's so true that don't focus so solely. I mean, obviously to each individual, but this is just a distinct philosophical approach. Don't focus so solely on wealth that you don't focus on your health also, too, at the same extent, right? And don't focus so much on your health that you don't focus on your wealth, too, to some extent. Or contrarily, your love in your life, or et cetera, relationships or whatever, right? Because this is the last principal point I wanted to emphasize. Communication, in a communication course, I effectively, took part in it, etc. I totally was profounded by the whole ordeal that sometimes people think that this is that and that is this, but obviously sometimes the biggest indicator of a person's well-being, primarily or predominantly, is this whole ordeal that personal relationships. Understand? So at the same token, again, back to the emphasis on the philosophy that philosophical approach I'm trying to share about the coupled effect of all these different inputs or contributing factors. And that's the whole ordeal that, relationships sometimes are a big indicator of, can be conducive to greater success, but also not even just that. Sometimes even with lack thereof of what might be deemed, conventionally great success and et cetera. Sometimes relationships often can stimulate, what is dopamine or et cetera in the brain, make you a happier person than someone that's even, you know, maybe got it all, right? If they don't have that proper relationships and etc. So the same token is so true. Obviously, you know, ownership. That's all I've been preaching for years. Obviously, you know, keep your head sharp. Obviously, the more skills, the better. This technology shit is big. Obviously, you know, what I plan to traject for myself moving forward is obviously, you know, to increase, you know, my knowledge base, obviously to get better, more competencies, obviously more technology skills and etc. To understand more breadths of secret trades. Obviously, there's a lot of secret tips I can't share with you right here in the midst of this conversation. Obviously, you know, I'm giving you a lot of encouragement and etc. But obviously, you got to go get it yourself. You understand? You got to go get the fucking information, flip that shit, implement that shit. Also, you know, take advantage of the you know, investing. You know, of course, like it's been suggested. You know, the only way to, you know, to lose, you know, saving, lose money. Investing could lose money, but, you know, at the same token, saving always loses money, right? So at the same token, that's a way you got to flip the script of your mind and etc. So obviously, make that shit flip. Pay your fucking dues. What the fuck was I gonna say? Something so valuable. At the same token, just roll with the fucking punches. Get your skill game up. Oh, again, back to my trajectory. I wanted to create an app. I kind of wanted to build it myself, but obviously I don't know if I'm technically inclined. I didn't get into that realm early enough, honestly. But it's never too late. You can't say that you can't teach an old dog new tricks or etc. Because it's so true that you know, you still could. Obviously, you know, for the next generation, obviously, you know, you want to encourage, if you believe in this sort of thing, obviously there's other endeavors, whatever, right? You know, service industry, etc. But same token, sometimes there is technology out here. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't fucking know, man. I'm not here to answer every single fucking question. Obviously, just stimulating conversation. At the same token, technology is probably going to stick around for a moderate time, you know, worst case, best case, whatever. At the same token, sometimes, you know, the back end, the front end is fucking simplistic. Like, you know, this shit is like, you know, if you learn the tips and trades, get a little tutelage and etc. The front end of any type of design and etc. It is only going to get easier. That's the problem, and that's kind of an epidemic as far as, you know, people that realize that whole fact will realize that, you know, it's totally like that increases competition when there's more people able to enter the marketplace because the ease of not only transmission, like in this sense, but also the ease of replication or literally creation or literally like in the technological realm. Obviously, like it's getting easier to create for those of us that can read between the lines a little bit, and of course find some of these cheat codes. Not cheat codes as in the shortcuts in life. Obviously, you know, nothing trumps hard work and nothing trumps intelligence and nothing trumps money working for you, obviously. At the same token, it's not beyond this or that obviously, you know, there are cheat codes in the sense that, you know, until you learn how to really properly utilize the back end, obviously there's ways to do it on the front end, you know, to greater, I mean, to lesser extents, obviously. You know, sometimes the back end gives you so much more potency as far as control. But at the same token, sometimes you got to suffice until you can learn that shit because it takes time, man. If this shit was so fucking easy, everybody would be fucking doing it. So that's something you got to remind yourself. Obviously, 2019, let's get it. Let's get it.